Hello, my name is Rosetta Kionis, and I'm in your ACA 090 class. I'm attending Central Carolina right now to become a registered nurse, hoping to get in this fall into the nursing program. My presentation today, I will be talking about Chapter 6, Prioritizing, Chapter 9, Recording, and Chapter 10, Understanding. My experience this semester with this class, ACA 090, I had a better outlook on prioritizing, recording, and understanding because of the field that I'm going into, nursing. With this field, I have to know how to prioritize. I have to be able to understand the information that I'm learning, or participating in clinicals and in class, and also at work. I also work in a hospital, so these three chapters to me opened my mind a little bit more and made things a little bit clearer and helped me to do better, especially this semester with my grades and how I'm participating more in my classes. For Chapter 6, Prioritizing, the things that stood out to me the most was the section on ways to eliminate distractions. And with the distractions, a lot of it had to do with technology. My cell phone, the computer, the TV, music, anything that was on. I always had my cell phone on. It was always ringing, of course, and the computer on Facebook, stuff like that. So to me, to eliminate these distractions, which the section talked about, that helped me a lot. Also, being a procrastinator. Sometimes you don't think you procrastinate, but if you really look at what you're doing, you realize that you're procrastinating. In this section, it explained 3 procrastinators: chronic, moderate, and occasional. It really put the schedule that we had to do, the timeline of what we do each hour of the day, really put in perspective to me of how I procrastinate. And I work at a hospital, so I work night shift, so most of the time I come home in the morning and I am extremely tired, so I sleep all day, and therefore I'm not getting any work done. So in this chapter, it talked about making a list, making a must-do list, need-to-do list, and would like to do list. And to me, that helped me a lot, writing down what exactly I need to do each day, what I would like to do. And the things that I must do have always been either go to work, come home and do my homework, and then the other things I put on my would like to do list, things that are not that much important, but to me mean a lot and I need to get done. But of course, it's about getting your schoolwork done, having time to study, having time to sit down and learn the material, read the chapters, stuff like that. And things that I before wasn't really doing, I was doing it, but I was being distracted by other things. In Chapter 9, which is record, I would have to say the biggest thing to me that was important was the prejudging. And being in the health field, you prejudge quite a lot. Sometimes you may not even realize that you're prejudging. And this chapter really opened my eyes a lot about how we judge things before even giving it a chance, or just shutting things down before we listen. So this chapter really helped me realize that I don't need to prejudge, and being in this health field, I have to be able to block that. Also in this chapter, it gives tips for effective note-taking. And I'm just reading a few things off of my paper here. For effective note-taking, being physically and mentally in class. And to me, that's a big thing. Sometimes I come to class and I'm not physically there. I'm extremely tired. I may not have eaten. Mentally, I'm so tired and I have other things in my mind, maybe thinking about work or things that I need to do when I get out of class, and that's not a good thing. I have to be in class and paying attention to be able to get this work. Another thing is to come to class prepared. Bring in your textbook, bring in pencils, bring in paper, stuff like that is very important. You just have to bring your material, because if not, you don't know what the instructor is going to have for you to do that day, and you have to have these things with you to be able to participate in class. Another big thing was asking questions and participating in the class. I don't do that all the time because I tend to get a little shy, so I won't ask questions if I'm confused or don't understand anything. And that hinders myself because I'm not asking questions. I may be lost. The instructor's not going to know that I'm lost. So therefore, I have to help myself open my mouth and ask questions, participate with other students. Talking in class will really help things to sink in, or for you to totally get things. So that's a big thing that I really have to work on, that I'm trying to work on. Chapter 10, Understanding. One of the things that stuck out to me was the VCR3. I knew these things, but reading them and then practicing them really made the difference. I'm going to read what this stands for, which is visualizing, which is try to create words or pictures in your mind. I do that all the time. I have to. When I'm studying, I have to picture things related to something else. Concentrating will help you commit things to your long-term memory. If you're really concentrating and you're saying it over and over again, it will stick. Relating things to something you know. Maybe comparing something that'll make it stick to you so you can memorize it. Repeating. This for me is studying with somebody else. Going over things with somebody else, saying things out loud to each other. To me, that really stinks, and that also, to me, ties in with the visualization, because when I'm taking my test and I'm sitting there and I don't remember anything, if I can sit there for a minute and think what I was saying out loud with that other person, or what I saw in that book, to me, that helps me remember the answer. It brings it back. It makes it more real to me. So those two things are definitely something that I'm doing to be a better studier, a better test taker. Reviewing means to review things over and over again, and I definitely have to do that. I have to constantly say it over and over again, some way or form, make it stick, and make myself remember it. Another thing that stood out at the end of the chapter was, what should you do if you don't remember an answer? And that happens a lot with me because I tend to freeze up. So in the book it said to leave the question and come back to it at the end, or make an educated guess. And to me, that is definitely a key thing to do. Even though sometimes when you're taking your test, you don't think, well, okay, I should go on and come back, because you're just wanting to get that answer, that correct answer. But if you sit there and dwell on it, you will get stressed, and when you decide to go on to the next questions, you might just be stuck on that answer, and it can hinder you from answering your other questions correctly. So I would definitely say leaving it and coming back to the end is the best thing to do. I also liked some of the tips for testing. Some of them were study the hardest material first, which is so true, because if you know the other information, go ahead and move on to something harder. Help yourself remember that, and then go back to the easier stuff just to review over. Review the textbook and notes more often, which is a plus, because a lot of times I don't go back over my notes. I write my notes, but I don't really study them. And to me, that's where most of your questions from your tests and stuff from your instructor come from, are the notes. Find ways to remember the work, which also ties in with the VCR3. Learn material from different angles, which is true. Learn how to answer some of the information that you're studying in a true and false, in a multiple choice, or an essay form. Be able to answer questions about that information that you're studying from a different angle, which is absolutely true, because you never know what your instructor may give on the test, or what kind of form he uses. Ask questions of the instructor before the test. Glance at the entire text before starting, which is true, because you want to sit there when you get your test and kind of look over it first. Get in your mind how much time you need to answer these questions, what kind of questions are ahead of you. Ignore the pace of your students, of other classmates, and watch time limits is a big thing to me. I know as a student in high school or middle school, I would always look around and see what everybody else is doing. How much time have they taken to take their test? Are they done? And to me, that makes you rush because you're basing your time off of somebody else. And that's not a good thing because everybody works at different paces. With the time limits, to me, time limits kind of scare me a little. So I watch the time, but that just helps me to answer at a better pace and really understand what the question is saying, because you can't go too slow and run out of time, but you also can't go so fast and not answer your questions correctly. So those were really good test tips to me that I have taken into account to help me take my tests. So with all that said, to me these 3 chapters really tied into my career, what I will be doing. Because with the nursing field, I will have so many tests. I will be quizzed on everything I learned. We have to really know the information. So these test tips really helped me to better study, better answer questions, stuff like that. It really helped. And the prioritizing to me was the most important, because you don't realize how much time you're wasting or how you're studying without really looking at what you're doing. And with my busy schedule and all these classes, I really have to know how to spend my time, how to dedicate time for schoolwork. I mean, work is important, but if I don't get this education, I can't be a nurse. So prioritizing is definitely the biggest chapter to me, that meant the most to me. Also, I kind of tied in a little bit of the chapter about motivation and pushing yourself. To me, that's a big thing for me. In this field, you have to push yourself to do better, to learn more. You have to surround yourself with positive people, people that are going to push you and help you to do better, because this field is very demanding. It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of memorization. You really have to learn this stuff, and you have to have positive people around you to help you and to push you, because this career takes a lot out of you. It really takes a lot out of you, mentally and physically. So these 3 chapters are what meant the most to me, and I am for sure using these tips to help myself in school and in work. Again, my name is Rosetta Kionis. I hope I did a good job, and I hope for the best for everybody in school. We'll all make it if we just keep trying. Alright, thank you.